In the light of the revelations we've been bombarded with over the course of the past couple of weeks, we've had news stories detailing how to be a woman today is to face a daily barrage of sexual harassment. And there's no sign at all of this ending. We now have women who work in Parliament using a secret WhatsApp group to line up male MPs who are, and I quote, very handsy or not safe in a taxi. These MPs are being lined up for public shamings. A survey out earlier this week claimed that half of British women have been sexually harassed at work. It seems as if feminism has never been more badly needed. It seems as if to be a woman is to live through hell. But drill down into these statistics and we discover that more than a quarter of the respondents to the BBC survey said that the harassment they had suffered was in the form of inappropriate jokes or banter. It seems to me that what we have is ever broader definitions of sexual harassment and at the same time more women interpreting experiences that might once have been seen as part and parcel of office life, perhaps, dare I say it, even fun, jokes, banter and flirting. People are now interpreting this as harassment. Now, I want to make clear that my aim is not to trivialise sexual harassment or sexual assault in any way whatsoever. Serious offences need to be dealt with severely, preferably in courts of law rather than in the court of social media. But when sexual harassment is defined so broadly as to encompass jokes and banter, it begins to lose all meaning. Serious offences are then trivialised. Sexual harassment ends up being nothing more than a catch-all term that allows every woman to be included in a victim narrative. And that's what really intrigues me, and that's in a way the focus of my book. Why is it that so many women are keen to be included in a narrative of victimhood? And the message today does seem to be coming at us from every direction that women are victims. If someone makes an inappropriate joke in our earshot, we tremble, we faint at the merest whiff of sexism. When we have the misfortune to meet someone lecherous, we can't tell them where to go or give them a slap, but we must take to social media to cry, "Me too." Like children, we need protecting from nasty men and bad words. Victim feminism clearly does not represent all women. Most of the women I know are actually far too busy to stress about manspreading, let alone go and tweet about it. But this dominant narrative that women are victims is rarely challenged or put into context. When we look purely at statistics, there's never been a better time to be female. That girls do better at school than boys is common knowledge now, whereas 55% of young women go to university, only 43% of young men follow a similar route, and that's quite a substantial difference. But women's success doesn't end when they leave education. More women are in work than ever before and are also taking more of the top jobs. A majority of vets, doctors and lawyers are now women. Women are also earning more. The gender pay gap, however it is measured, is the smallest it's ever been. In their 20s, women earn more than men, and when we compare like-for-like pay, the pay gap almost disappears entirely. But society, these changes have happened so quickly that we've lost sight of the real barriers women once faced. So in the 1970s, fewer women worked, and those that did were relegated to poorly paid and often insecure jobs. And I think this is a really important point because I think sexual harassment was a real problem. I think it still is a real problem for some people. I think it really was a problem when women's low status in the labour market could be exploited by unscrupulous bosses, safe in the knowledge that those wanting to keep their jobs had little option other than to put up with these unwanted advances. But the more powerful women become in work, the more women begin to dominate different employment sectors. Women are not in that insecure position anymore where these unscrupulous bosses can take advantage, for the most part. And it's thanks in large part to the efforts of a previous generation of feminist campaigners that young women today have a world full of opportunities available to them. And we should be celebrating this. And instead, my concern is that feminism tells young women now of new problems that they face, such as manspreading on public transport or mansplaining colleagues. This is not to suggest that everything's wonderful for women today, particularly when they become mothers. I think women face new pressures in trying to combine work with being a kind of textbook perfect parent. But the difficulties women still face are rarely the stuff of feminist campaigns, and I think they're often better solved by men and women working together rather than in opposition to each other. And a feminism that insists women are vulnerable and that men are toxic makes it less likely that men and women will come together to work to solve the problems that they face. My concern is that victim feminism resuscitates some really antiquated practices that we would not want to go back to. So over the past couple of weeks, Friends star David Schwimmer has been praised for offering a female film critic a chaperone when they went off to discuss his film. Women students now were routinely advised not to leave nightclubs with strangers. Some reports suggest that men are nervous when interacting with women at work and fear that friendliness will be misinterpreted. My concern is that the fear of sexual harassment, far more than the reality, is now holding women back, and it's feminism today that's at the forefront of propagating these fears. Campaigners now call for new measures to protect women at work. But for me, the thought of spending the best part of each day somewhere where jokes are banned, flirtation needs a special permission slip, and banter is strictly forbidden, frankly makes me lose the will to live. The protections that victim feminism demands infantilise women and turn the clock back on hard-won freedoms. The liberty to risk unwanted sexual advances, I think,